Welcome. We'll give it a few seconds here for everyone to kind of trickle in and get situated, and we'll get kicked off on this awesome webinar today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hopefully everyone's having a good Thursday.
Yeah, and it'd be great to hear where folks are coming in from as well. And while we wait for folks to trickle in, maybe we could just tell where each one of us are from.
Use the chat. Yeah, absolutely. Where are you guys located? I'm in New York.
I'm in Brooklyn, New York as well.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And I'm in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll get kicked off here. I think people can join as they hop on and catch up. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us for the webinar today, The Modern Way to Manage Construction Risk. I'm Erin. I'm going to be the moderator today. And we have some great experts on the phone. We have Jessica from USI Insurance. Hey, Jessica. We have Naisha from Billy.
Hey there, guys.
Perfect. And Joe from TrueLook.
Howdy.
They'll be sharing insights today on how transforming risk management in construction can help you and different ways you can do that. So today we have a packed agenda for the next 45 minutes. We're going to be starting with USI Insurance take on mitigating construction risk, followed by Billy's compliance management process, how you can streamline that. And then TrueLook is going to dive into different tools you can use to enhance security and job site management. And then before we begin, just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'll be moderating that and checking it out, and we'll answer those throughout the presentation. All right, let's get started. Go ahead, Jessica.
Perfect. Thank you. So if you're not familiar with USI, I think it's really important to understand that the broker that's placing your program has to have a construction expertise and really be very, very skilled at understanding the terms and conditions of these programs. So USI does have a vertical practice. We specialize in construction. We love it. We have dedicated teams just for construction. And so we certainly do bring a lot of collaboration, technical resources, technology to help our clients make better decisions so that they can be more profitable. Go to the next slide. Perfect. So obviously we all know that construction is inherently risky. And so today we're going to be addressing insurance and how you could use technology to help you with that. Obviously, there's going to always be requirements on the job for insurance, and it always starts from the top. The property owners are going to have those lender requirements, which can be pretty strict and demanding. The general contractors are going to have the contract with the owner of the project, and then that GC is going to transfer the risk to all the subcontractors involved. So basically, we're looking at, the type of risks that you can come across as you're working on your projects. When we're talking about delays in construction, there's going to be supply chain issues, labor shortages, physical damage, cost overruns such as price changes in materials, financing delays, client delays, regulatory compliance. If you are in New York City, you know all about DOB or OSHA coming onto your project. These are all the different types of issues that you can come across when you are doing a major construction project. So, basically the tool that you can utilize to transfer that risk is going to be through an insurance product. And in this case, it's going to be a builder's risk, where the topic of conversation today is going to be for builder's risk. And so basically what we're looking at, when you have a construction project, you're going to have several lines of coverage. However, since we're focusing on the builder's risk, what is that? Builder's risk policy is basically a building or property policy, a course of construction. It's also known as course of construction, and it's going to cover the additions, alterations, foundations, temporary structures, materials, supplies. It could be building materials, supplies of others. It's kind of like a wrap-up property policy that covers all sorts of entities that are involved in a project. Now, this is where we all, basically start to take a look and get closer. Not all builders risks policies are made the same. Each carrier uses manuscript forms, and it's impossible to know what that policy covers unless you're reading it carefully, which most people don't. A lot of common standard property policies just don't have adequate protection for the construction risks. And if we're looking at like common exclusions, again, if we're going right into the meat and potatoes of the exclusions, we're talking about hard costs and soft costs. And this is, yeah, perfect. And this is very common. People just assume that, the policies are going to have all the coverage that they need. But really, this is where the expertise of the broker placing the program comes into play. When we talk to clients about their projects, those budgets are really important to look at, not just for what they have on them, but what's not included in them. For example, an example of a soft cost that is very near and dear to everyone's heart right now is, bad workmanship or defective materials. This can absolutely cause large out-of-pocket expenses for owners. And this is an endorsement that could potentially be covered through the Builder's Risk Program if you're coming to USI, for example. This is something else that's also really important for a builder or a GC, anyone that's looking to get financing. When you go out to market and you talk to your lenders and you tell them that you have specific language on your builder's risk policy that would pay them for the interest and the principal on the loan that they give you for this project, if there is a covered claim, that's pretty valuable. And most builders risk policies do not have this type of endorsement. So it's certainly something that can be very beneficial when you're looking for capital. And of course, our favorite weather-related events. We just had a terrible experience with Hurricane Helene and the path that hurricane traveled. The common exclusions are going to be, water damage, for example. How that water penetrated the building envelope is very difficult to investigate. So that's always a common issue that builders have. Wind, here in New York, we have snow. And so if you are, depending on where you're located or where the project is located, you're going to have exclusions or language that's going to limit coverage within that program. And that's why it's super important that you're looking at the exclusions as a buyer, buyer beware. Make sure you're reading the policies. Make sure that you're actually taking the time to understand what's in it, because it's unfortunate when you have a claim and you come to find out you're not covered because, either yourself or the broker just didn't think of it. And then, of course, we could cover the existing structure. Typically, this is a smaller project. Obviously, if you're doing ground up, that wouldn't apply. But we can certainly have endorsements that would protect the building that you're working within if you're adding, alterating, or enhancing the property as well. This is where the technology comes in, and USI has partnered and certainly leading the way when it comes to looking at technology as a way to mitigate claims for our clients, in addition to helping them reduce the cost of their insurance. And we partnered with TrueLook and Billy to help our clients make better decisions, because you certainly need to the software and the technology to help you make those decisions. And this is where Billy would come in and help you with the compliance.
Excellent. My name is Nyasha, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Billy. And today we're going to talk about how Billy, which is a compliance management software that's just built for construction, helps you manage builder's risk as well. So we'll go into the next slide. I always like to talk about our philosophy. This is really our DNA, where we come from and how we see the world. We are your champions, and we're champions for you in the process of managing things like certificates of insurance. Do you care about things like surety bonds? Do you care about pre-qualifying the vendor and making sure that everybody on the job site has the compliance documents that prevent what we call risk transfer? And risk transfer is really those things that are surprises on a project. Maybe somebody has a car accident with materials going to your job site. Who's responsible for that if the contractor, as Jessica mentioned, didn't have a policy that covers them to carry those materials? Perhaps maybe you have a customer who is a property owner who is a lender who requires them to carry builder's risk? Do you have monitoring tools on site to have a favorable outcome for your insurance? These are the things that we're going to be talking about today, and how we can help you manage those with systems like Billy. So we'll go into the next slide. As I mentioned, we're a compliance software, and we are your partner against surprises. This means that we're a one-stop shop for things like certificates of insurance, and also reviewing those endorsements, because a certificate of insurance is just the tip of the iceberg. The policy documents themselves are the ones that say what a contractor is allowed to do and not allowed to do on a project as well, right? We also help. Yeah, go for it, Jessica.
I want to say, typically where we see issues with this too, Nyasha, is with they don't have like the subcontractors might not have an installation floater for the materials that are being installed. And so if the policy isn't structured correctly and they're not looking for that, there's going to be a gap in coverage. And that's where the compliance piece would come in if the builder's risk policy doesn't cover all the parties involved.
Exactly. And this is also going into vendor pre-qualification, which is when you do form the relationship with that vendor, it's important to understand their insurance before you even put them on a project, because by the time you put them on a project, it's too late as well. And you can't always go back right in time, as we're going to talk about. So it's important to make sure that you are ready to work with this vendor as well. In most cases, as Jessica mentioned, you could end up in a situation where you hire a contractor because a project manager maybe worked with them on another project. They have a relationship, but perhaps they're not skilled enough or have the right endorsements to even do the work. So you're in a situation where you cannot fire the subcontractor without taking on significant losses. You may have to pay the additional bill just to have the privilege of working with that subcontractor who maybe should have been pre-qualified before. In addition to that, it's always good practice to collect things like tax documents. So the W-9 tells you if a person is even registered, with the IRS. That allows you to issue 1099s later. So tax compliance. We also help you with business licenses. Are they even registered as a trade to do that? Things like lien waivers, notices to owners, warranties, etc. as well. Idea here is that we help you transition from being like Brandy before she started using Billy, so ring binders and just collecting COIs. You could still use systems like the Procores, the Autodesks, and your accounting systems, but there's a lot of manual work in just collecting this information. And endorsements are not structured in a way where you can just type one piece of information to say, I have read that this person doesn't have a height restriction, for example, right? Or do they have an installation floater? And
also on the casualty program, Nyasha, this is critical. So we're talking builder's risk, but on the casualty, guys, this is critical. And your underwriters, if you have something like this in place, will look at you much more favorably in terms of premiums if you have a contractor vetting program like this in place.
And Erin can help us get to the next bullet point as well. So a common theme that you're going to see are things that Billy does that are similar to what TrueLook does. So if you can come out of this podcast with three things, the first thing would be you want to have solutions that have help you with visibility and stakeholder engagement. So stakeholder engagement isn't just the people internal to your company, but it's also your partners in insurance. So people like Jessica, your broker as well, they need to be able to see and understand your business. So choosing tools like Billy, right? Like you can't be everywhere at once, but with tools like Billy, you're able to unite all your stakeholders in one place. So your broker understands what you're doing in systems like Procore, Autodesk, right? Your project managers don't even have to leave systems like Procore or Autodesk. They can keep writing contracts, your subcontractors and their brokers are unified in one system. And also, we can help you connect with your accounting teams as well. So we'll proceed forward to the next point. You know, the second bullet point is going to be documentation and sharing progress as well. So clearly, we can't always go back in time and rewind the clock, but with construction compliance, it's very important that you document, how did you meet this contractor? Do they have the documents that are required to even be added to projects for your customers, right? You work for property owners that may have unique requirements each time. So pre-qualification is super important.
And also really good for your defense when the claims come. So critical, because in court, you're only as good as your documentation.
Exactly. And not everybody is trained in insurance, right? So we don't want to disrupt everyone's workflow. So systems like Billy are embedded inside systems like Procore. So we're really connecting the field to the office and also bridging the gap between construction and insurance with construction first technology as well. Your people in the back office are also looped into this compliance cloud, so they're able to stop payments when a person does not have, let's say, a certificate of insurance has expired as well. So we integrate with systems like Stage 300, CMIC, Viewpoint Vista, to mention a few. So we can go into the next slide. And in construction, especially for general contractors, you may have contracts that say you need to manage continued operations for a period of X years. It could be up to, let's say, 10 years, because most of these defects obviously will happen after construction, or leaks, for example. And you still see people managing to get COIs via fax machines. And this picture is with a person that we help, which is Broadway Construction. Prior to them starting to use Billy, I went in to experience the pain myself. So for projects that they had finished years ago, there are some brokerages that will only fax you the certificates of insurance or mail them to you. Trying to find a toner these days and installing it in one of these machines. It's a little difficult to do so. And I see Jessica chuckling as well, and she can add some anecdotes.
I don't think, listen, every contract I've read has this stipulation, and I can tell you that no one follows it. No one. Even when they change insurance policies, they don't include the additional insured language on there. I mean, we do, but I've seen it plenty of times. So this is certainly a really big issue here for builders and owners.
Right, because you may think that it won't happen, and we can go to the next slide. But an incident like the Surfside collapse in Miami, right? It was a condo building that was 40 something years old. You would think that you're off the hook, but in some cases, let's say it's within that window of your continued operations. If you aren't paying attention, you're going to be left holding the bag, right? So let's just say you can't prevent every incident. The last thing I'll leave you with is systems like Billy and TrueLook provide you with a peace of mind, right? So for Billy, you're being supported with people that are CRIS certified, right? So some even have their broker licenses. That just means that they understand construction insurance, and they're recognized by risk mitigation like institutes like ERMI as well, to handle, advise, and work alongside you and your broker on best practices to use softwares like Billy as well. It helps you prevent surprise bills, right? So surprise bills from poor subcontractor vetting, the situation where you have to pay the bill for the subcontractor because you made a poor decision of putting them on a job when they shouldn't be, because they don't have the insurance to do the work as well. You can also pass your general liability and workers' comp audits, in less than a minute. It's just as simple as downloading a report that's accepted by the majority of insurance carriers. You have your COIs in one place. So you can always pass with flying colors, and you're not going to be in a situation where you have a surprise bill from your insurance company because your paperwork wasn't in place as well. Now, for Billy, we're used by contractors of all sizes. I like to highlight America's first high-speed rail, so from Orlando to Miami, was built with ENR 400 builder, Wharton Smith. They do great work on infrastructure that we use all the time. But they use the system to manage all their vendor compliance. So this is everything from COI tracking to even employees that are leased to work on their projects as well, because they too need to be covered with this as well. So we help them flag all this risky, things that happen on a construction project so that they don't have any surprises, which protect their bottom line as well. And this is one of the reasons why we can go into the next slide. It's important to have these relationships with your broker and technology solutions like TrueLook and Billy, so that you can be as successful and happy as Brian, right? So Billy works for all contractor sizes, right? So small builders, mid-size, large builders, and also property owners. Next slide. Before I hand off to TrueLook, just want to note that we both integrate with popular project management systems. Procore is one of them, where we want to highlight how embedded we are. So here's an example of how we're bridging the gap between construction and insurance. Your broker is on the table in both applications, right? You're getting favorable reviews, as Jessica mentioned, on your underwriting, because look at how your broker and your employees are not disturbed at all, right? They have both solutions inside your core management system, right? And everybody is happy. The documents can be submitted in one place, and you can also see what's happening on a job site as well. So we'll go to the next slide. This is where I guess I will hand over to TrueLook, and they'll tell you all about their great solution as well.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Aaron, can you go to the next slide? So I'll tell you a little bit about TrueLook, just where we came from and how we ended up here. So TrueLook initially was a camera company that would put cameras anywhere. We had cameras on resorts. We had cameras on every continent. Anywhere you could put a webcam, we could be there. What we found is in the last decade plus is really what our technology lended itself well to was to construction sites, to remote locations, to places where sometimes you don't have an internet connection or you don't have power. So we build a system that can run, whether it's cellular or solar, basically anywhere you've got sunshine and a cell signal, we can put a camera that helps you with your projects. That really stuck us into the construction vertical. That's most of what we do. We work with owners, general contractors, developers, and everyone in that project lifecycle, as well as, like the Billy team mentioned earlier, all the key stakeholders that are in that process.
And by the way, that's critical when choosing a camera company, security company, because they're not all the same, and sometimes they don't even know where to make the placement of the camera. So having a company that's construction centered is critical as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Appreciate that. So a little bit about how TrueLook does this on the software side, and we'll talk about hardware a little later. So every camera that TrueLook sells does three things. They all do live viewing, which is great for visibility and stakeholder engagement, meaning you can log in, you can look at the site. We'll go into a little more depth on that. We also do documentation. So our cameras take a picture on a regularly scheduled interval as often as once a minute. And this is great. So, like Jessica and Nyasha mentioned, you got to go back 5 years and see what was happening with a subcontractor at 8:15 in the morning on a Tuesday. You can do that. You can go look at that photo. You can see what was happening. And a picture is often worth 1,000 words and really saves you some time when you go to look at those things. And then the last piece, and where insurance and technology have really started to collide or combine, either way you put it, is on the theft side and on the compliance side with risk mitigation. So cameras once upon a time were great for things like live viewing and project documentation, but now on many projects they're required as part of a broader security solution in order to keep that project safe and compliant with builders' risk policies.
Especially if the values are upwards of 10, 15 million, it is a requirement on the builder's risk.
Yep, excellent. And we see it a lot too with wood framed. I know it's not just wood framed, but it seems like if it's wood framed and more valuable, then the stipulations continue to rise. Excellent. So to dive a little deeper into visibility and stakeholder engagement, I guess we'll talk about what that means. Nash had some great points earlier about there's a lot of people who matter in a construction project, and everybody's looking and they want to see different things. They care about different things. What we do is we provide, think about a customer that has 10 different projects running all over the country. All those projects have different owners. They all have different subcontractors. They all have different maybe requirements. Maybe some are security heavy, maybe some are documentation heavy. So we build a system that allows that team to look at all their projects in one place. They can live view, they can move a camera around, they can zoom into a piece of equipment across the site. They can cite or catch safety violations. They can see all the things they might want to see remotely from one place. And that gives you a great opportunity to utilize folks like a great safety manager who can't be everywhere at once when they would like to be. That safety manager could every morning look at every project digitally, live view it, take into account what's happening, note things before they become a problem. So really stakeholder engagement, we do that through live viewing and collaboration tools, but there's a lot of ways to do that in ways that it matters. That's just our niche. The next piece is documentation and sharing progress. So we do this through what we call a time lapse. Time lapses, you see them on the internet. They're awesome. It's a lot of pictures sped up with a little music behind it. And it looks great for the marketing team. But the tech behind how that happens is that camera is taking a picture every minute, every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes. Certain cameras have the ability to even take panoramic images where it's taking 20 images once an hour and stitching them together into this really high resolution, wide angle shot. And so we store all those photos forever for you. And the end product is that great time lapse that marketing and folks love. But the real compliance piece is being able to go back, time stamped, day stamped, calendar stamped, and look at what that looked like, as well as a great feature where you can pull two pictures up side by side and actually compare them. You can say, okay, here's where we were August 15th of this project, and now it's October 15th. Let's see what's changed. Let's look at how much work we've gotten done. Are we on schedule? Are we on task? And then you can share that out with the appropriate people, whether that's through sharing tools like email and social media that are incredibly popular now, or through things like Procore Autodesk. And then the last piece is peace of mind. And peace of mind comes in a few different flavors. There are certainly projects where peace of mind might be, I want to get an alert after hours. I want someone to get a text message saying there's motion on the site. They look at it, they make an intelligent decision, and they get an idea of what's going on. Peace of mind may be, from an insurance standpoint, maybe live audible talk down, maybe a strobe, a siren, a visual deterrent where anybody from a 2-block radius knows that that site is protected by a camera or multiple cameras or multiple threat deterrents. And so we offer things in that whole realm of, do I just want to get a notification, a text message or email to my phone, or do I actually want authorities to be alerted? And that, that's different type of projects, different requirements, but we can meet you wherever your project finds you and help you do that. We put in a case study here that this actually just happened pretty recently with one of our cameras, and we're lucky enough, you can see from the picture, that it happened during the day. A lot of bad things happen at night when people sneak around on a site, but this one happened in broad daylight and we were able to catch it, which is awesome. But what happened here is someone was trespassing on the site. Our system was armed and set up to catch that no one was supposed to be there during this time. The team was alerted. The team had a chance to cancel the alarm and say, oh no, our electrician's supposed to be there today, no big deal. They didn't. They said, no, this is not supposed to happen. And within minutes, there was a police response and an arrest made. From the time it started to everyone being notified and authorities taking action was so incredibly fast that this person, A, wasn't able to cause risk on the site, wasn't able to steal anything, wasn't able to break something that causes further delays, and furthermore, they know not to come back to the site again. So it was a great opportunity to help our customer out, but also to share with you guys today what happened. So we talked a lot about the software and how that works, and how we've got a dashboard and you can see live viewing, time lapse, and we can set up different security protocols. But here's kind of how it all happens. The first piece is that you've got to have a camera, and we've got cameras that fit every different scenario. I'll talk a little bit about each one. So the first is a fixed camera. This is the most basic. You see these everywhere. You've probably never been anywhere where you haven't seen a camera in a building or on a building. These are great. They're wide angle. They're easy to install. They look at the same thing all the time. They're bulletproof, consistent. They make a great time lapse. Just a great all around product. These are great for single structures. So you're building, something that's 15,000 square feet. You can mount one camera and often catch a lot of the progress, B, the documentation, and you can secure it from one angle. The site is set up right. It's not too big. The second type of camera that we sell is a pan tilt zoom camera. We call them PTZ for short. These come in lots of resolutions and zoom qualities. What's great about these is you can put one of these cameras on a site that has multiple structures. You can back it into a corner. Think about a multifamily project, probably not in New York City where Jessica and Nyasha are, but think maybe Texas, where you build 5 buildings in a clubhouse on a 20-acre site. A PTZ allows you to back a camera into a corner, see one building go up, see another building go up. You can actually document them separately with a pan tilt zoom. It also makes your security a little bit expanded because of what it's able to see, how far it can see, areas it can protect at night. The next one is an interior camera. An interior camera is just like it sounds. This is great for a retail or small space. This particular one that we've got a picture of has 3 different views inside. So think about an upfit or an interior renovation that Jessica talked about, how different those are in existing buildings than ground up. You can put this in the middle of the room. You get great visuals from all angles. And you've also got a pan tilt zoom at the bottom that's able to do some of those cool panoramic shots that we were talking about earlier. And then the last piece, this is when everything is on the line and you need total protection on your job site. So these are security solutions. These come in, I've talked about earlier, a little bit different flavors. The one you see pictured there is the big one. We call it True Shield. That's the unit that's going to have a loudspeaker. It's going to have a strobe and a siren. It's going to have cameras on all sides to capture everything that can go wrong in the corner of a project. You may have multiple of these placed. This is also the camera system that we've built to comply with most common builders' risk policies. It's monitored. It's got a UL 5-diamond center behind it. It's got infrared. It's got night vision. It's tamper-proof. It's loud. It's big. It's bright. It's all the things you need on a site when you don't want anybody to be on that site that's not supposed to be there. So we're really excited about this. This is just recently launched. This is really going to help those high risk builders risk jobs that we know a lot of folks have. So insurance and tech, how does it all come together? I'll let you, will you skip that for me, Aaron? So handling builder's risk is much easier with technology. So we need the technology to come together. It helps you can see it. We've got the photo there of what's happening on the phone, the person's outlined. This helps you not just mitigate the risk, but if someone's brazen enough to come in, they see that big camera flashing and they hear the strobe and siren, they're still destined to take something. Well, now we've got it recorded. We've got it on video. That's stored. That's something that you can use to mitigate your risk later on.
I just had a client, I can't even tell you how amazing it is, who has cameras in their shop, a mill worker. They had an accident or an incident with a vendor that was coming in who fell and injured himself. And because they were able to send me the footage right away, we were able to document, get all the information, record everything, address the issue, look to implement processes so it doesn't happen again, all in a matter of an hour. And normally without the footage, it would be days. Nobody would, the documentation would not be there. They would forget things. I mean, so when we're talking about when you're submitting the claim, you're missing information. It takes longer. You could even, you could even have issues with warranties in the policy that tell you have to report things by a certain time frame. And if you don't do that because you don't have all the documentation in order, it could affect the outcome of the claim too. So it was really great.
That's an awesome thing to add. And Jessica, we store video on our cameras for 60 days in 10-minute clips. So if you have a scenario where someone submits, we've been talking a lot about security and risk mitigation and people stealing things, but there's other things that happen on construction sites, like you just mentioned. There's slip and falls, there's subcontractor disagreements, there's things where occasionally a 10-minute video might answer, weeks worth of questions. And so it's a great point to make.
Delivery of materials that didn't come in.
That's right. That's right.
All right. And onto the theme of, why insurance and technology should partner together and provide you with savings. We partner with USI Insurance. So when we do that, we put them on the same table as you on every project that you run as well. This means that you have less friction with your vendors, right? And this partnership allows us to extend a 20% discount onto a subscription of Billy. The same discount applies to customers that use insurance carriers like Travelers Insurance and Arch, which both work with USI Insurance. We're able to extend the savings because we're removing a lot of friction between all parties on a project. And remember, it's not just the people in your office and your subcontractors, it's also your insurance partners that are needed in order to have a favorable outcome as well. And Jessica, I think you have some more to say.
No, just absolutely. I mean, and everyone is always looking for ways to reduce their spend. And this is certainly a value add that a lot of clients are not really taking advantage of, because of the initial upfront costs. So we are able to help clients through our new risk mitigation platform called Path. We can actually give you the ROI on your insurance program and on your safety record when you partner with companies like Billy or TrueLook, so that you understand what that investment would look like and how it would pay off in the long run. So it's actually a really great time to be looking at these things right now. Perfect. Do we have another slide?
I think that's it. Appreciate it, guys. We do have a question here from somebody. They're wondering how Billy stores documents after a project is complete.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we store your documents on the cloud. So they are stored permanently on Billy. There are situations where you need to hand over the documents to the project owner. So we have the capability for you to extract those documents and hand it over to them as a zip file, or they can also create a team within Billy and receive the documents in app as well.
Awesome. That's great to know. And then a question for you, Jessica. Someone's wondering how they can lower their premiums on insurance. Does technology like this help, or is there any other ways they can do that?
There's 100 different ways, but it all depends on what they have going on. So it depends question, but certainly, as brokers, that's our job. We get paid a commission to place your coverage, and we should earn that commission by helping to reduce your costs. So if your broker isn't talking to you about different ways and they're just kind of saying, this is what it is what it is, just take it or leave it the day before your policy expires, then it might be a good idea to start interviewing, other brokers, because at the end of the day, everything is just getting so expensive now. And, the construction margins are already small enough, or tight as it is. So insurance shouldn't be depleting from that. So, it all depends. So if you're interested in looking at that, then reach out to us and we can see if there's any money that's being left on the table for you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jessica. And the last question here is for Joe, is how long does TrueLook store the photos?
Great question. Forever. We store all the photos that are taken from a camera forever, and it's part of the service. So we call it free forever cloud storage. Once you've done one project with TrueLook, every photo that camera's taken is stored for life. Always accessible.
Thank
And
you.
that is also really valuable, by the way, because no one is storing imagery like this forever. And so when you have a claim that comes from 4 years ago that you don't even recall what happened, you can call Joe and pull this file, and it will help you with your defense.
That's a great point. All right, that looks like all of our questions today. If you guys have any more, feel free to reach out to either Jessica, Naisha, or Joe, and they'll be happy to help you.